loud now, and we can do the kind of the intros. So let's just check. Are we recording? Yeah, we are. Cool. So hi, it's Gavin Kowalski, founder of Method Engine, Sales Training and Coaching, and I'm here today with Zsofia, who's going to introduce herself.
Hi everyone, I'm Zsofia Raffa, digital marketing expert and coach, specialized for lead gen and content generation, as well as social media strategies, freelancer, journalist, blogger on LinkedIn, and yeah, let's make things sophisticated today.
Great, and we're just going to have a good old chat about all things sales, marketing, social media, and how to kind of get the best out of those tools as sales and marketing people. But I suppose the first question for you, Zsofia, is like, how do you, as a marketeer, when you're thinking about how best to get on with salespeople, what's kind of the first sort of things that come to mind from your perspective in terms of how to kind of make that relationship work? Because a lot of the time people view it as being a kind of there being a lot of friction, a lot of antagonism between sales and marketing. How do you make it work in the roles that you've had and the work that you do?
So in my mind, marketing is basically a team who makes the field easy to use and also available for the sales team to start doing their activities, so the exact sales. In my mind, we are working together, so this is not like a supporting small team, but rather a teamwork, especially when it comes to social media and also content generation, because you guys, the sales guys, you have daily contact with customers and prospects, and we definitely need some kind of information in order to generate the very best out of this. So in my mind, I do love thinking like one team who is working together, and then we can make things better, and then we can work on further development.
When you're when you're coaching salespeople to support you, because I mean, like you say, salespeople have that kind of day-to-day contact with the customer, but marketeers they have the opportunity to kind of share messages, one to many, whereas a lot of sales is kind of one to one. When you're kind of coaching salespeople about how to sort of build credibility and how to support marketing, and particularly on social media, what are the kind of tips and advice that you give to salespeople so they can build credibility for the business and also attract leads for themselves?
Yeah, so when it comes to social media, I really do advise to be constantly there, and then try to generate a kind of content which resonates with your target audience. So you should definitely have a deep knowledge about what your target audience, what your prospects are searching for, what are their pain points, what rings a bell when it comes to new projects, or how can you engage them. So what I can definitely advise to be active, and then you can start with so easy, small little steps like, love, share another content, also participate in certain discussions on the dedicated groups, and also doing some collaborative articles. So in the last couple of weeks and months, I'm also active on this way on LinkedIn. And I also found so many like-minded people when it comes to social media or digital marketing strategy. And whenever you know as a salesperson what is your field of expertise, or which topic is the most important for your audience, then go to these collaborative articles and also try to be active. So in this case, you are also going to be in the spotlight. So instead of chasing people and users, then they are going to come to you and ask your advice. So that's definitely one thing. And also what I really liked, a couple of weeks ago, you had a really great post about one of your projects, which was 18-month, generated $21 million. Yeah, that was wow, mind-blowing, but also showing that how things are working in the reality. So you have to push things till, of course, the signature, but what happens afterwards? So sharing your own experiences, what happened, these are really valuable information, and also build up the credibility and also trust that whenever the prospect is doing a business with you, then you know exactly what is going to be this whole journey till the delivery. That's really important in my mind. Also leveraging customer testimonials. So obviously you can't share all the information, but this is a really nice way just to share, okay, what were the pain points from A till Z? What did you manage together? And also sharing this information could also definitely make a better reach on your social media.
That's a really interesting one, because I've got a customer case study at the moment that I just built. It's a company I've worked for. They work in the AI SaaS space. We've done a lot of work together, helped improve their kind of sales team. So I've got my kind of case study written up. What do you view as the best ways to kind of like share case studies? Because one of the things I'm kind of conscious of is not wanting to look like I'm bragging too much, but clearly at the same time, I want to highlight the great work I've done, but more importantly, the great work that I've supported my clients to do, because really they're the heroes. So from that perspective, how do you balance, when you talk to salespeople about how best to use case studies and how best to share them, how do you balance getting the kind of balance right between, talking about how fantastic you are, but talking about the results you help your client achieve?
Yeah, so definitely there are certain steps. So I think it's really important to ask, what was the status quo? So what was the point whenever they said, yeah, let's do something together? What was the challenge? And then what was the solution? So these are the basic steps and the basic information what you definitely need. And I also do prefer having a call together with the client. So sales client and time to time also with the PR agency, because they know exactly what rings a bell outside of the organization. And once we have all these interview questions and we have all this content, then we can move on to the next step to generate the content itself. And also from my point of view, the distribution of the content is also really important, because most of the companies think that, yeah, let's collect all the data, all the stories, and then what happens? So simply just using it at one social media post doesn't really make too much. And honestly, it costs a lot. So in terms of time and also content gen, but whenever you think about that, it's a hero content, and then you try to make it bigger, smaller pieces. You try to use different formats, infographic, blog, article, certain other types of content. And once you have a really nice bunch of content, then you can also start thinking about the distribution. So nowadays, social media is definitely a go-to when it comes to content distribution. But instead of just concentrating on the organic, I also recommend to use the paid ads, especially on LinkedIn. That could be also really interesting. So instead of, again, chasing the customers and try to get as much as possible information about them, just show them your expertise. Also, the dedicated social media groups are also a really nice way to spread the word and also start discussions. And what I definitely recommend is not only to write really easy text, but also be a bit bold, a bit provocative, try to generate a conversation, because that's what later on will ring the bell. And that's what later on bring the prospect to the sales guy to ask, okay, that sounds good, but could you please explain me a little bit more? And I think that's basically the very best starting point also for you sales guys, just to start the conversation.
So you like the approach of almost poking the bear a little bit, be quite provocative in some of these statements, quite kind of hyperbolic, to kind of try and get a response, to get a reaction, to create a conversation.
Exactly. So I really do love the emotional content generation. So that type of tactic, because nowadays, if you see the technology landscape, almost each and every company can do quite the same things. So we are concentrating on digitalization, AI, and all those things. But what really matters is at the end of the day, the emotions. Because if you think about that, the whole buying process is getting longer and longer, so more and more people are involved. There should be something out of price which rings the bell. Whenever the people feel that, okay, I can trust in this team, they do something good. So that's really the point, whenever you can not only win their hearts, but also the project itself.
Yeah, that's it. Because So, I mean, I remember 10, 12 years ago, there was a stat about, I think it was from Gartner or from Corporate Executive Board, about there being 5.6 people in every decision. And then 18 months later, the same piece of research was run and it was 6.4. And
Oh yeah.
nowadays it's like 10 or 11 sometimes, particularly in enterprise,
Oh yeah.
in enterprise deals. And each one of those individuals looks at the challenge, the problem in a different way based on
Exactly.
their role within the business, based on what their targets are, based on how it's going to impact them and and their job. So you've got almost at least 10 different perspectives on the problem that you're trying to kind of address. So one benefit or one outcome is not going to hit kind of all 10 of those. But if you can capture emotions, like you say, if you can take them on an emotional
Exactly.
journey, then that's really powerful. And how best can sales and marketing work together to make that happen?
So on one hand, definitely. So again, content generation and also with the formats. There are two really great examples from my previous experiences. There were, on one hand, we have generated a newsletter for one of my sales executives. Basically, we checked all our company content. We checked also the content calendar and strategy, obviously, to align everything together. And once we defined a couple of big areas, then I could generate thought leadership type of content. So instead of pushing the product itself, we pushed his expertise. So that was something really great and incredible, because he could also get a really nice amount of attention. And definitely this LinkedIn newsletter, this function works really good when it comes to reach and notification for the certain users. And also the other great way is videos. So that's what we currently also do. So this is basically also to show not only that, yeah, you are a knowledgeable person, who knows, who generated the content for you, but whenever you are able to stand in front of the camera and put things together, and then you can emphasize, and then you can express yourself, I think that's the very best and most powerful thing. And I think that's also the reason why TikTok could also gain within a short period of time a really high amount of attention, because people are in front of the camera, they are doing something from their heart. The quality is a different thing, but then they are doing something incredible. And that's what basically gets the attention from the other users.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like TikTok, because I suppose when I think about social media networks from a business perspective, I always gravitate towards LinkedIn. But over the past, and that's kind of where certainly I spend most of my time and energy. But I look at other people in similar fields doing similar things, and Instagram is a good channel. That the whole kind of meta platform is still good for reaching, particularly for paid social. I mean, I've used that to drive kind of inbound leads, which has been pretty successful. But then your point about TikTok is absolutely spot on. I didn't even consider it as being a place to go, but I've spoken to a number of people who have built very big followings kind of relatively quickly through speaking from the heart, and drive a lot of sort of business inbound off the back of that.
Exactly. So what I see is that different social channels have their own audience, and the audience wants different content at each and every channel. So in my mind, personally, I also focus on LinkedIn because I do feel that I don't have too much energy for so many other channels, and just to generate super unique content for each and every one of them. What I currently see on TikTok and other channels is that there are already also a couple of really great B2B marketeers, Jade Tablini, or if you think about also other YouTubers, so they are generating really amazing content. But when it comes to really concentrating, then I definitely recommend to use maximum 1 or 2 channels and then be powerful over there. And also think about how can you be unique. because many people goes to all these sites, and if you generate quite the same content, then okay, why shall they follow you? And most of my time, whenever I'm working, I always ask, okay, let's see, for example, B2C, because B2C FMCG is a rapidly growing and super creative area. And many times I'm taking some ideas from there and then implementing in B2B technology because no one has ever used it. So I'm on the point like, if no one has ever used it, then it's time for me to give a try. So that was exactly the same with the LinkedIn event, like a couple of years ago, now with the newsletter. So try to be unique also with the formats and also with your message.
Yeah, that's really, because one of the things it's very easy to do is just to sound, as you say, to sound like everybody else, to deliver the same message, and then you're just shouting in a crowded space. How do you? So if you're working with, because you've got companies, right? Salespeople and marketers within those businesses. The business itself will have a product or a solution or a service and a view on how it's going to go about going to market. How do you, when you're working with individual kind of sales reps to help them be unique, what are the kind of guidance you'd give them or the steps you'd ask them to go through to try and identify what their like unique point of difference might be, so that they can then bring that forward as part of their content strategy and their outreach strategy?
So I think it's really important to get to know a little bit better the salesperson. So not only checking their profile and then identify, okay, what could be good for you, but also having some normal and time to time also some personal conversations. What are you doing in your free time? How do you spend your holidays? What type of books you read? What is your special interest? Because many times these little information can lead you to a really interesting and totally unique perspective also later on. So time to time you talk with people and they have a special hobbies. They go for sailing. They collect not only money but also some other things. And then you already have some hints and tips what you can put together, and then you can identify how to move forward. Because I think even if sales guys working at one organization, but each and every one of them are unique. And also you have to figure out what motivates them to also work together with you. Because I think at the moment, whenever you push something, nothing is going to work. But whenever people are coming to you and then say, okay, can we work together? Then it's already the starting point. Whenever I say, I do everything for you, then let's do something together. Great.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And the more I think about, my experiences as a seller and a sales leader, and trying to grow and drive business and drive inbound leads, the business that kind of that's come to me, if you like, rather the inbound stuff, through whether it's the social media work that I've done or sort of other kind of stuff that I've put out there, has always been that individual buying kind of me as an individual. So you have this, and it's a real sales cliche, isn't it? People buy from people. And I always say that like people buy from people, but businesses buy from businesses. So like, the first step is you get that people match. So it's like you identify something in that individual that you're, for want of a better phrase, attracted to. You get attention and kind of brought in. And then your job as an organization is to align as an individual, is to align your organization to your client or your prospect's organization, so that then you can do that business to business. So a lot of people will say people buy from people is, old hat and it's silly. I think it's really powerful. It's one step in a number of steps as part of a B2B kind of sales process. And I think creating interesting content and finding your unique voice is a key part of that kind of that attraction.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, Gavin. And also, if you think about that, nowadays, the whole tech stack is getting more and more complicated. So you can't expect that you as a sales guy, you ring the door and then you say, I have an amazing product, take it or leave it, and then the customer is going to buy it. But rather think about with a bigger picture. What is their existing ecosystem? How can you deal with this? How can you implement your product or solution there? How can you make their life easier? And please forget all these words like save time, money, energy, because if you see the promotions really from the Kellogg's till, I don't know, whatever AI company, everyone is saying exactly the same stuff. But whenever you can go there and say, hi, this is my product, and I know exactly that you do this and that, because I already checked your company profile, your blogs, I know I have some idea about yourself, then you already get at least your little feet in into the whole business, and then let's see how the whole conversation is moving on. But I think definitely what we have to think about is, on one hand, people, and on the other hand, also how to integrate things. So many times I see also with startups that they have amazing ideas, but then when it comes to integration, they can't really move forward. And that's really a deal breaker also for big companies as well, that they can't say anymore that, yeah, I have my own product. If you buy anywhere else, then yeah, that's a pity, because everyone is doing tons of searches. AI is here. Everyone is trying to do development. So you must be able to answer for questions like how to do the integration, how to make a better ecosystem than what you currently have.
Yeah, you make some fantastic points in what you said there. So I'm going to kind of rewind a little bit and talk about, you can't just say to somebody, I'm going to save you time, I'm going to save you money. You've got to make it real. So, I mean, people buy for basically three reasons. It's time, save me time, speed something up. It's save me money or make me more money, or it's status. And that is make me look better or make me feel better about kind of myself. And that's kind of, and if you really wanted to boil it down, it always come down to status fundamentally. But you can't just turn up to somebody and say, I'll save you time and I'll save you money. It's like, well, how you don't know me, you don't know my world, you don't know the problems I have. So you've got to kind of make it real. So you've got to understand your clients' pain points and problems almost better than they do. You've got to be able to kind of talk to them as if like you've been in that situation before. And this is the thing about, particularly I see in salespeople, sometimes they don't realize just the breadth of experience and knowledge they have from the number of customers they've spoken to. They've seen this problem again and again and again, and they've seen how other customers have dealt with it. And actually sharing that kind of insight with a new customer is valuable to a new customer. And that's basically what McKinsey or Accenture do. They go and they sit with organizations and they listen to their problems and they look at how they're solving them. And then they speak to the next customer and say, oh, that's really interesting, because we spoke to these 5 other customers and this is how they went about doing it. And they create value by sharing that. And often as salespeople, I don't think we do a good enough job of harvesting the insights that we get and sharing them and making them real. So whilst people buy for that time, money, status reasons, you've got to make it real to them, both through your sales conversation and through your marketing messages, through your copy, through your creative as well. And stories are kind of one of the best ways of doing that. One of the things I was going to ask you is the biggest skill gap that I recognize that I have, and I didn't really realize this until I started basically being my own marketing department, is copywriting. So when I used to interview salespeople, I'd look at their CVs and I'd always start off by saying, I've read your CV, but sales isn't a written discipline, it's a spoken discipline. So can you talk me through it? I really cringe when I think about saying that these days, because if you think about the amount of copy that salespeople have to write, whether it's across emails, LinkedIn posts, documents, and then the very fact that like writing good copy helps you think clearly and helps you speak more concisely. What advice would you give to sort of salespeople about things they can do to really improve their copywriting so they can be more persuasive, more powerful in both their written work, but then their spoken work off the back of that?
Oh, I think I can give you some advice from my perspective, because it was really interesting that a couple of years ago, I had to start also to be an active member at the content management team. And first I was like, yeah, but I'm a hunting digital marketer, so I know target audience, put things together, but content. And then I also started to improve myself. And that's why I also started to write the blogs by myself on LinkedIn, just to give a try how does it work in the reality. And after 1.5 years, I did so many things. So a Hungarian newspaper also asked me to do some publications. So nowadays, monthly, I have my article in their newspaper, and it makes me also super happy to see how can you spread the word. My advice for salespeople: first, start small. Start generating your own social media posts, and also see the reaction around it. And also try to involve marketing team, because again, we are a team together. So this is not like only sales, only marketing, but we have to work together in order to generate some value. And there are also so many incredible people when it comes to social media. So they are definitely willing to help for you. The only thing what you should do is just to go there and then ask their advice. So many times I see that this is already a big point, and oh, how to do, yeah, if they can help or something. I assure you, all the social media marketing people with whom I have ever met, they are going to be happy that someone really wants to work with you guys. And then you can also start to, maybe they can also start working with you just to generate your own individual posts. And then after a while, you are also going to see what are the most important things or what rings the bell. So my advice is to work together with marketing and also hear your audience. And do active listening. Also try to go into social groups and see what are the big topics nowadays, because most of the time we tend to forget that, yeah, we are working at a company, our aim is to sell this and that, but what happens at the outside world? And most of the time I'm also following some other creators on LinkedIn, and I'm trying to take their hooks or their advices or the way how they format. So all these little things. And then if you put everything together, then you are going to be an amazing copywriter at the end of the day.
So I suppose it's just a question of actually starting
Exactly.
and kind of seeing how.
You can see how it works. Exactly. And also ask your whole team for contribution. So many times I was also talking with regional teams and then encourage them to work together. Maybe only one or two guys are able to do some posts, but then take these posts and then reshare on your own profile. So you can start really with the tiny, smallest things, and then you can grow, and then you can generate your own content, maybe one day also blogs or articles. But I think the starting point is also is always the most critical. And also when it comes to, for example, salespeople whose mother tongue is something different than English, but still they want to post something in English or other languages. Many times I've seen that they're afraid not to do a grammatic issue, not to do some failures or anything. What I can say, I'm also Hungarian. I also post in English. At the very beginning, like 10, 15 years ago, I also had a little scary, but then I also asked at the very beginning some native speaker colleagues to please time to time check the content. And then after a while, you get the confidence, and then you can make things really nicely. And after a while, it's also really nice to translate all your thoughts in your own mother tongue, because many times these cultural differences can also make a really nice impact on your own content.
Yeah, I'm always in awe of people who can speak multiple languages. As someone who has tried and failed to speak different languages, it's yeah, I'm always very impressed, and it must make copywriting in English a bit more of a challenge. But I'm guessing you probably ultimately might write slightly better than some of us native English speakers.
Well, I do my best. I think again, the most important, just to give a try. and time to time also ask advice from others. So for me, definitely writing to this newspaper is a really big deal because the editors are helping me. So for me, it's not about the big wow and then generate the blockbusters or whatever, but it's more about learning how to make it. And also content generation is a kind of science, because nowadays, especially when it comes to digital content, it's not enough just to write a couple of ideas and that's all. But when it comes to SEO, so search engine optimization, then you really have to think twice how to make it, because maybe the content itself is not going to be so sexy, but then it's going to feed Google. And at the end of the day, all what we need is that either our name, profile, or content should be somewhere at the top of the search results. And that's why you really have to think about not only the message, not only the hooks, not only the whatever big conversation, but also how to be at the top of the search. So it means that how to be at the top of the people's mind, because that matters. Because only a couple of percent of the users are willing to buy today, but in the next maybe half a year, 2 years, whatever time frame, they are going to come back to you if they remember on you.
Yeah, and you make a couple of really interesting points there. Particularly one I wanted to pick up on was around the science aspect of it. Are there kind of like key metrics that salespeople should be tracking from a digital marketing perspective for lead generation?
Yeah, this is always really interesting to see the cost per lead. So on one hand, there is a kind of marketing cost most of the time, because users, they need some kind of interaction with the brand before they come to you. But then also it's important to see, okay, but what have we done after we took the we contacted this person? So did we send some materials? Did we had a couple of meetings? Did we send a demo? Or did we do a big beta version or anything? So all these things are matter. And then you can also see how effective was the whole teamwork, so sales and marketing together. We can also talk about sales velocity, which measures how quick the lead was moving from A till Z in the sales pipeline. Because many times, especially when it comes to marketing leads, maybe we generate today a really interesting contact, but maybe this contact is not at the buying stage. So maybe they need a bit more time. So that's also a really nice indicator to check, okay, what is, how effective was the campaign itself, and how effective is the whole nurture program.
Quite interesting. And particularly, I mean, in sales as well, we love metrics and we're always being chased to update our CRM system, whether it's Salesforce or Pipedrive or HubSpot, to make sure that, senior leaders can track the metrics. Are we getting the average order value? What's the kind of sales cycle length? So everybody in business loves a metric they can test and they can measure.
Yeah, so measurement is important, but also doing learnings out of the data. Because what I also see that almost each and every marketing friend of mine, everyone is generating month after month big fantastic reports, and we report that we generated in September X amount of contacts. Yeah, cool, fantastic. Okay, but then what is the learning out of this? How did a certain campaign work? And how can we make the campaign better? Or maybe how can we reorganize the whole campaign in order to achieve something better than what we have done before? So I think on one hand, collecting data is important. Also do data visualization. But in my mind, due to AI, we should be also able to make more predictions and better predictions than what we have done so far. So I think definitely technology is here to do this. Then the next question is, are we willing to make it? Or do we say that, yeah, these are the data. Yeah, that was summertime. Yeah, let's see. Or do we say, okay, that was summertime. These are the data. So how can we make it better for September already?
And you mentioned it a few times in the conversation already, and I've kind of resisted jumping on it, but I suppose it wouldn't be it wouldn't be a podcast in 2024 if you didn't talk about AI.
For sure.
You know, so it's kind of like, yeah, it's like podcast bingo. Have you mentioned AI yet? Have you talked about the presidential election? Probably not going to touch on that. But yeah, to talk about, you know, AI, where do you see, because there's so much hype, and, you know, I've worked in organizations that are in that space directly. I've got clients who are in that space, and I've worked with them, and I've seen some of the opportunities, some of the challenges that they've had with AI. Where do you see AI fitting into this whole equation?
Well, in my mind, AI is not a solution. So this is not a one-stop stop solution. Whenever you go there, say, I want 10 leads, I want 20 signatures with whatever amount, but rather it's a kind of catalyst for our work. So it can make the work smoother and better if you know how to make it. I also had a really interesting conversation a couple of weeks ago with a friend of mine, and he also said that most of the companies are talking about it, but when it comes to implementation, they still have some hesitations. So I think currently we are on the phase that everyone is trying to do tests and trying to learn from each other. But when it comes to really the future, I do believe that AI can help us on so many ways. For example, summarizing the data. Currently, there are really nice features to summarize a couple of emails and then making a nice summary out of this. So that's definitely something incredible for sales, because I think, Gavin, you know it better than me. There should be a couple of emails and conversations before you go to the next stage. So that's definitely something important. Also, hyper personalization when it comes to formulating an email or an ad. Whenever you write certain prompt into the AI engine and then they generate something nice for you. Also, when it comes to content generation and videos. So many times, just generating videos takes time, also with editing, formatting, everything. And I think AI is definitely here to help us. And also when it comes to chatbots and lead qualifications. Lead qualification is like you really have to do deep dive and see, okay, does it really make sense or not? But also what I always recommend when it comes to AI and the output, what comes out of the system, is to check by yourself as well, because the system is doing something what it was already trained. But what's going on if it is something completely different, or if it is a new thing what the machine has never learned before. So you definitely have to check what comes out and then making some adjustments also on your end. So that's why you can't really feel so comfortable that AI is going to do all my job and everything, but you really have to think about that you are the expert and AI is there only to help for you. But at the end of the day, you must be sure that whatever comes out from your hand is valid and makes sense, and also valuable, hopefully. How do you see that AI in sales at the moment?
Yeah, it's a really, really great question. There was a report by a venture capital firm called Bessemer Partners. I can't remember when it was, might have been back end of last year. And their big prediction for AI was that like 80% of the value of AI would go to the end user. So people like you and I using the tools at the end, as opposed to kind of large corporations. So they view it very much as a tool, as a utility. And I think if, you know, as a marketer, as a sales professional, just as a professional in general, if you're not using AI and experimenting with AI and testing it, then you're just going to get left behind, because a lot of the success is going to come down to how well you can use AI, how well you can prompt the different engines to do what they do, and actually knowing what the different ones do. So I've got both ChatGPT and Claude and Perplexity on paid, on paid subscriptions, because they do different things.
Yeah.
They do very different things. Like Claude, for example, is much better working with documents, for example. So you can feed it documents, it's much better that way. Whereas Claude doesn't have access to the internet. So ChatGPT can go on the internet and pull more information up. But then if you're looking for pure search, Perplexity is better than Claude at that, because it's it's basically a search engine powered by AI. So there's lots of opportunity. I use AI in a number of different ways. I suppose the most day-to-day one I use is I tend to record transcripts of all my sales calls. I tend to then push them through an AI engine, whether it's ChatGPT or Claude, to write a summary email. So that email can then, like in seconds, it's written. I can just check it because it's only about however many words, and it's gone with actions, updates, what we captured. That goes into my CRM system as well, so I don't have to actually write notes. They go in all there. So that's great. I also use it to help create, content and sort of bits of workbooks, for example, that I use with my clients. So it's something I've got to rewrite. My wife uses it to write proposals. So she has had so many of her old proposals into, I can't remember which one she uses, that it knows her style. So she can give it a good prompt and it'll create a proposal. There's lots of ways. And it comes back to that, save me time, save me money. It just saves time and money and effort and energy by using those things. That it allows you then to go on and kind of do something else. But your point's really, the final point you made is really valid. AI can hallucinate. AI is not perfect. And you need to make sure that actually what's going out is, to use your phrase, from your own, pen. It's your own kind of opinion. It matches, and it's, for want of a better phrase, sort of fact checked. So I think it presents massive opportunities. I think there's lots of businesses out there trying to figure out how they can use AI as a competitive advantage, and I think that's probably the wrong way of looking at it. Certainly, with the work in the work that I've seen, it's not so much how can I use AI to get an advantage. It's I need to be using AI so I don't fall behind. I think that's the key thing with AI in these things, from my experience anyway.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you.
It's a very, very powerful tool that just isn't going anywhere. Although I do think there's it's caused a lot of analysis paralysis in some of the businesses that I've seen as well.
Yeah, definitely. And maybe one more thing for AI. I think the future is not only for the output, but also I think already nowadays, the most successful people know exactly how to feed the machine. So what is the input, what they already give. So AI can generate the very best content if you know how to use it. So if you know exactly what type of content you want, who is your target audience. So you definitely need the, so to say, basics in order to generate some value.
100%. It's a tool like anything else, and you need to learn how to use that tool. It's like wielding an axe, or a chef with a knife. You need to learn how to use that tool really well. Do it every day, and those skills will build.
Yeah, I use the phrase like microwave. So you can put whatever you want into the microwave. It will make a bit better, or hopefully it will heat the things. But yeah, it can also explode. It can also make something something delicious. So it's up to you how you feed the microwave itself.
It has. Well, this has been a fantastic conversation. Thank you, Sophie. Is there anything? Where can people find you if people wanted to get in touch and to get hold of you to use your services?
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn at Zsofia Raffa. I also have my newsletter, The Zsofistikated, also on LinkedIn. And currently I'm building up my zsofistikated.com website. So hopefully in a couple of weeks, we can meet over there as well.
Fantastic. And I'll put some links in the comments as well, so you can go directly to Sophie's profile. Awesome. Thank you very much. I will stop recording.
Thank you, Gavin.
How do I stop recording? Oh, there it is, up there. Boom.